Okay, and now we have Neil Grayston. Here he is, right here. And we'll be talking about same thing, questions and answers.
Yeah, I guess. I guess for those of you who don't know, I was on a show called Eureka for quite a while. That's, I guess, the starting off point. Does anyone have any questions about stuff or things?
Now, with Eureka, you also did a crossover with Warehouse 13.
Yeah.
Can you explain a little bit, when you do a crossover episode, I mean, is it like a totally different environment that you're in when you're dealing with a different show, other than the one that you're on, or is it like same show, different crew?
I mean, there's definitely differences with, in terms of Warehouse, that filmed in Toronto. Eureka filmed in Vancouver. There's, I mean, we've been on longer, so we had a larger set on Eureka, I would say. We had like, basically our studio was, for a while, half Battlestar, half Eureka. Warehouse was a lot smaller in scope. But no, it was fun. I mean, I knew everyone on the show already, so it was sort of like just going over and hanging out with my friends and having a little vacation. And there was already quite a bit of crossover behind the camera. The writer who wrote both of the episodes I was in, Ian Stokes, used to work in the office at Eureka. And they're both produced by the same company, Universal Cable Productions. And so yeah, it wasn't a crazy difference. It was just more like, it was similar, slightly different, but just more fun. Anyone else? All right.
Can you talk a little bit about your experience on Supernatural?
Yeah, Supernatural kind of seemed to me for a while like my job was auditioning for it. I sort of had this double thing where Monday at 9:30 in the morning I would audition for Supernatural, and then Tuesday at 9:15, 9:30 in the morning I would audition for Smallville. But with Supernatural, so I finally got my one basically tiny blink and you miss me cameo walk-on. And it was kind of one of the easiest and like best days I've ever worked. I think all told, traveling to and from set, going through makeup and filming it, maybe at maximum it took 2 hours to do. I mean, I got there, I went in through makeup and hair, went to go film it. I figured we would block it, we'd have to wait a little bit for them to set up the lights and everything, but they were just chugging along already. They had everything set up. They just were like, okay, you stand here, you two guys stand there, all right, let's do it. Okay, action. All right, do it again. We did it, I think, 3 takes, and then I was done. I was like, that was quick. Okay, I guess I'll see you guys. Fine. I don't know, it was, yeah, super, super fast.
What's your favorite or most memorable experience from working in Eureka?
Oh wow, that's a hard one because I mean we filmed what? We started filming. I think we filmed the pilot in 2005, and we finished filming in what 2011. So that's like 6 years of filming with a lot of people, a lot of memories there. I think in general, just the big thing would be the camaraderie we had. Like we're all still friends. We just genuinely really got along with each other, so it makes a really good working environment where you don't have hostility between anybody and you can sort of joke around when need be or really get professional when need be. So yeah, that was just working with everyone. I mean, we got into some, crazy little stupid fun things. Like Colin and I had a flashlight war once, which was really, really misguided, where I think we gave each other some permanent eye damage eventually, but we were having fun doing it. So, yeah, it's some of my Eureka memories. Yes.
I know that during the Warehouse 13 crossover, your show was in the middle of a storyline where time had been altered and your character was in a different circumstance. How was it like playing the same character but in a different situation and personality?
It was just, for me, the whole timeline swap and just, it was a further way for me to grow my character. I mean, I think during season 3, I was starting to get a little annoyed where Fargo just seemed like a plot device more than anything. and kind of just became like, he is verging on becoming a bit of a Jar Jar Binks sort of character. It was like, yeah, so you can imagine how excited I was for that, where it's like, oh, what wacky thing is he gonna do that's gonna potentially, well, first of all, potentially criminal, and second of all, that's gonna potentially kill everybody. So I thought it was getting a little bit one note. And then we had the big switch over in season 4 with the time thing, and then I got to go over to Warehouse, and it was just sort of like, oh great, I can actually be a human being rather than a plot device now. Any other ones?
What's your inspiration that makes you do what you do?
I think I just like telling stories. So for me, it's just, I mean, I get to do that every day and I get to get paid for it. It's also, I really love working in film and TV because there's just so many people that you're working with that, you know, a lot of people don't really, I don't know if they get the scope of how many people are involved in every little minute that, you know, you see on TV or in a movie. I mean, from, you know, just the guys setting up the lights, to the guys setting up the screens that block the lights, to, you know, the guys setting up the track that, you know, the camera's on, to going after you filmed everything. You've got people mixing the sound constantly. Every single second is someone has put their fingers on it, and multiple people have. And I just think it's a really cool thing to get to do that with so many people, and just the amount of skill and precision and just professionality. Wait, is that a word? Professionality? I don't know. Okay, cool. If not, it is now. Yeah, it's just, I find it really inspiring to be around so many people like that who all have sort of a creative specialization that, you know, people might not really appreciate if they don't get to be around them day in and day out.
Can you talk a little bit about the end of the world?
Oh yeah, that was End of the World. For those of you who don't know, that was the sci-fi disaster movie that I did with Greg Grunberg. That was, yeah, we had a lot of fun doing that. Unfortunately, I think a lot of the best bits had to sort of hit the cutting room floor because we basically had to film during daylight hours, and we had to pack in a 2-hour movie in less than 2 weeks, which, that's a pretty tight way to go. But yeah, we sort of, me and Greg just kind of got to run around and almost do what we want a lot of the time. I mean, there were certain points where there were scenes where we were like, I don't know if this is as funny as it could be, and then they just were sort of like, well then just do what you guys want to do, and we'll see if it's good or not. So a lot of that did make it into the movie eventually. I mean, we knew we weren't making an Oscar winner, but you know, when you do those movies, you have to have a certain level of, you know, humor about it. And I think a lot of that did end up translating, luckily. I mean, it would have been a much different movie if we were very serious about it and just sort of, you know, thought that we were like really getting into the headspace of these guys who were saving the world. I mean, I think if we did it too straight, it would not have been as fun of a movie as it was. Anybody else?
When you're on a character on a show for so long, eventually do you start having a say in or did you start having a say kind of in the direction the character is going, or kind of little maybe quirks that, maybe points where you said, no, the character wouldn't do this, or something along those lines?
I mean, I think it's possible for that to happen. With me, I was pretty lucky in that the writers, I think, really got my character, and they were the ones who really sort of pushed him to where he was going. It just so happened that that coincided with what I wanted. I mean, the way that in the split between season 3 and season 4, they kind of restaffed a lot of the show. We got new showrunners, and they actually all went and did, I think it was like a 2-week retreat, where they all went and just like hung out in a house together, and they would spend just days discussing the characters. Like every single character, one day would be like, this is a Fargo day, another day would be a Carter day. And they really sort of all got on the same page with all the characters and really got into it. And I think, I mean, yeah, seasons 4 and 5, no one on the show was complaining about, you know, what they were having to do. It was really refreshing. I mean, I think a lot of us in season 3 were getting to the point where it was like, kind of one note. all the time. Like, I can't speak for the other actors, but I know I've heard it from them before too. So yeah, I mean, we were just lucky we had really great writers. Anybody else?
Can you tell us about any upcoming project that you have?
Yeah, it's still in the early stages, and I've actually never been involved with something so early before, so it almost feels like it's never going to come out. But I'm going to be working on a show called Redshift. It's from some of the people behind Falling Skies. I don't know if you're familiar with that one, and the effects team behind all the Stargates and the newest Primeval, and that. Yeah, we're sort of waiting to find out, A, the funding, and B, once we get the funding, are we going to film it in North America or South Africa or Europe? It's sort of, one of those overreaching business things that I'm actually not involved in, but I get little tidbits of. But it's a pretty cool concept. It starts out in space, and it involves time travel, and I can't say who's directing it, but I really wish I could tell you because it's a really exciting one too. But I've probably already told you too much about it. But yeah, that's the most solid one right now. In the meantime, though, I'm just sort of auditioning around. I mean, I spent last year immigrating to the States, so I couldn't leave the country, but I also couldn't work in it. So it was sort of one of those things where I'm like, wow, I guess I'll sit by this pool over here and work on my non-tan, because I've found out that I'm so pale I reflect the sun. Or maybe it bleaches me, I don't know. Either way, it's like I get a tan for about a day and then it's like, haha, ghost man! Anyway, that was a tangent. Anyone else?
I have a question. So what is your favorite part about coming to ConnectiCon? What are you looking forward to?
I'm just excited to be here. This is the first time I've ever been in Connecticut. And, okay, so I'm so happy that you said. So it's pronounced ConnectiCon.
Yes.
Okay, good. It was only about a year ago that I really realized there was that other C in Connecticut, and now it bothers me every time because I'm like, oh yeah, I'm gonna go to Connecticut. And then now, so it's ConnectiCon and not ConnectiCon, because that sounds weird and like, whatever. But anyway, I'm just excited to meet everybody over here, because, I've never been here before in this area. The closest, 2004 I was in New York City. Other than that, I haven't really done an East Coast thing. So it'll be fun to meet people, see what people are like. Every sort of convention I go to in a different area, there's kind of a different vibe to it. So it's going to be neat to see what the vibe of this one is, and what the people are like. Because that's, in the end, that's the whole point of going to the cons, is to meet fans and to maybe discover some new things that I might enjoy, like some new video games or comics or something like that. But, yeah.
Now, do you ever get any inspiration from going to these type of events?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is just being able to see so many people coming together for things that they love. It's just really exciting. It's, in our day and age, people are pretty jaded, and there's sort of, it's sometimes frowned upon for people to have an interest in things, which I find bizarre. So it's so cool to come and see hundreds, if not thousands of people all getting together, wearing crazy clothes, or, just doing whatever it is people do at cons. So yeah, of course, it's definitely inspiring.
You mentioned you're here to check out the comics and the video games. Which ones, or what are your favorites?
Well, my problem with video games is I'm terrible at playing them, but I love watching people play them. So I'm just sort of more excited to be able to see if there's any gaming sections going on. I'm not a huge fan of the first-person shooters. Sometimes I am, but I'm more just, for an example, this is going back quite a few years, but I have spent countless hours watching my friend play Final Fantasy and being his video game coach. So we would just spend weekends just racing chocobos, and it'd be like, okay, so what you got to do for this one is, and I don't know, it's just kind of one of my favorite things to be able to be sort of the point man with that, or even with first-person shooters, to be the guy looking at the little map at the bottom, being like, okay, he's behind you, go do all that. that's sort of my thing, because otherwise, when I play video games, no matter how easy and chill they are, eventually I realize that I've been doing this for hours. And I've got like cold sweat coming down and then like giant sweat stains in here, and I'm like, I was, you know, playing Sudoku. Why am I? This just got too intense for me. In terms of comics, that's another one where every time I go to a con, I try to pick up like a random indie comic. I kind of forget a lot of the titles of them now, but I sort of like seeing what people are self-publishing, just to see what it's like. I mean, I really should get back into comics properly. My first job started when I was 10, was working in a comic book store. And I mean, at first I got paid, well, I didn't get paid. My whatever for working there was I got a discount on the comics, so I actually kind of paid to work there. But then I eventually started getting paid in comics, which was pretty rad for me. But then I just sort of fell away from it somehow, I don't know why. So yeah, coming to these is a really great way to sort of get my finger on the pulse of the people, what people are reading. And yeah, so I'm looking forward to hopefully being able to like walk around the floor and see all that stuff. Sometimes, you know, it gets a little busy to do that. Any other questions?
Thinking about the business of acting and given your history with the SyFy channel shows, what is it that you think that you've done as an actor to make yourself like a go-to guy for these types of shows?
Well, the thing about SyFy, and almost like the NBC Universal umbrella, because that's, you know, the company that owns them, is they're a really good company to work for. They're really loyal, and I find like, you know, my bosses aren't necessarily like, at the end of the day, yeah, they're still like, you know, my boss, but they're also my friends, a lot of them. So, and that's not to say that it's you know, I get jobs because they're my buddies. It's just more, if you've proven that you work hard and that, you know, when you go into work, you not just like know your lines, but you can navigate your way around a set. You can, you know, keep things going smoothly. Because filming a SyFy show is not a simple endeavor. You have, you know, if you add to the fact that you're, you know, spouting off a lot of technical talk, which can really throw a lot of people, you've also got scenes with, you know, a lot of the special effects scenes can eat up, you know, 2/3, 3/4 of your day, where you're literally just having like, you know, 50 different angles of you looking at a tennis ball, which will eventually become a giant robot spider or something. But it's sort of like, eventually you're like, I don't really know what's happening anymore. Wait, what am I doing? I'm just looking at tennis balls and yelling all day. This is really weird. So you have to be able to like, once it starts getting all confusing, you have to be able to bring yourself back and, you know, believably yell at the tennis ball and believe that it's, you know, I'm going to try to shoot you with a laser or something. So yeah, if you're able to do that, I think that's a certain thing that you know, the powers that be appreciate that, and they'll, you know, keep on hiring you back.
We have time for one more question. Well, then why don't you tell us a little bit about where you're going to be today and what you're going to do?
Yes, I've got my thing. I'm going to be signing and taking pictures in the exhibit hall at 1 o'clock. Then I've got a Q&A at 3 o'clock in the ballroom, and then more photos and autographs in the exhibit hall at 4.
Very good.
Thank you.
And my advice is, if you haven't seen Eureka, definitely watch that.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, Neil Grayston. Have a wonderful day. Thanks for coming to ConnectiCon.